Okay, welcome everybody to our Lilith Circle. She is a magical, magical goddess. And before we get started, I want to take a moment and just give you like a sacred invitation. If you resonate with my teachings, my energy, and you want to continue to work together, this is a sacred online community co-created by me and my daughter. That's my baby girl. She is a yoga teacher and healer as well. In our sacred community, we have yoga classes every day with different teachers. We focus on the chakra system. We have monthly community sharing circles, meditation, new moon workshops, and full moon workshops every month. And then we have monthly guest teachers that are teaching us their sacred knowledge. And right now we're learning how to forage and wildcraft local wild foods here in Arizona. So it's been a really magical experience. We have one more class with this teacher and then we'll find a new teacher. So our intention for our community is sovereignty and healing for the mind, body, and soul. We are free from within, and that is very Lilith actually. So to be a member of our sacred community, it's a $22 monthly donation via Venmo, and you can DM if you have any questions, just reach out. And if that doesn't resonate with you, maybe you'll feel called after today to join me in this Reclaiming the Feminine, a 3-part series that I'm starting next month. Again, I'm really, really excited about this teaching, just like Lilith tonight, because I have studied so much. I have studied for years and years and years, and somehow now being forced to teach online. I'm taking the presentation of my studies and the materials that I've gathered over the years more serious. And I'm really excited to present this material on beautiful, beautiful slides and empower us all to learn and grow through the goddess. So this is a 3-part series, like I mentioned. The first class is Ancient Goddess Culture. So we'll be learning about sacred sites, artifacts, and astronomical correlations that reveal the mysteries of the matriarchal cultures before the society that we know now. And so the patriarchy is only really started about 6,000 years ago. Before that, God was a woman, okay? It was feminine. So we're bringing it back. We're bringing back the matriarch. Okay, I know we're going to find balance in it all, but like my focus is the matriarchy. So in the second class is Restoring Matrilineal Bloodlines. So bloodlines and lineage was always passed down through the mother's line. It's a new thing for it to go through the father's line. So we're going to talk about why did that shift happen and how do we reclaim it? And then the third class is the astrological ages through the eyes of the goddess. So we're going to go back the last 6,000 years of astrological ages and see what actually happened. How did the feminine get lost? How did we end up in this dominant masculine culture where having power over each other and power over nature became the normal? And then we'll see what is the evolution that we need to do now to birth the Aquarian age. So if you're interested, you can sign up, send your Venmo in. If you sign up for all 3 classes, then you're going to be entered in to win an evolutionary astrology reading with me. Evolutionary astrology is my greatest passion next to goddess worship, okay? So I love giving readings, and they are very, very activating and validating for your path. Okay, so that is my little infomercial. You can reach out if you have any questions. So let's start the workshop. I felt called to put a slide in here. What is an archetype? Because I feel like I use the word archetype a lot and I've never defined it in any type of setting before. So I'll read a couple of definitions here and then we'll talk about it for a second. So an archetype is a primitive mental image or symbol from the earliest human ancestors and is present within the collective unconscious. So I want you to mark this here, collective unconscious. It represents universal patterns of human nature. An archetype is the original pattern or model from which all things of the same kind are copied or on which they are based. A model or first form prototype, a collectively inherited unconscious idea, a collectively inherited unconscious idea, pattern of thought, image, etc., that is universally present within individual psyches. Okay, so this is really important. So archetypes they are available through the collective unconscious. And what they do is they bring the unconscious conscious. Okay, it allows us to unpack our own psychology, stuff that we're not even aware of. For example, when we talk about racism and white supremacy, a lot of the consensus society was totally unconscious that we live in a white supremacist world, that our system is set up for white people to benefit. It was completely unconscious, okay? So that means the more and more we go into what is unconscious, the more and more aware we can become, and the more and more we can evolve and develop. So archetypes are symbols kind of personified. So like the goddesses, the different masks of the goddess, they are kind of personified representations of this thread of consciousness, and we're able to develop our own psychology by studying the archetypes. So by studying archetypes, it's just opening the doorway into the collective unconscious, and there is so much wisdom available there. And we can study the archetypes through the different goddesses, but then also through the zodiac, the zodiacal archetypes, and how they go in a circle, which is actually a spiral, reflecting the nature of consciousness and how we are always developing. So it's not linear. Our growth and evolution is not linear. It's actually a spiral. So any questions about archetypes? I just felt called to give an explanation to that word. Okay. And again, unmute, because I can't see everybody on the screen if you raise your hand. So just unmute and feel free to speak your truth. Okay. So here.
Hi, it's Amy. Oh, can I just say something real quick?
Go ahead.
I don't know if you can see me or not, but Caroline Myss has a lot of literature on the archetypes. And she also has a CD set, which I downloaded onto my iTunes ago. But there's a ton of different cards in her deck, and there's a book that comes with them, and it talks about all the different archetypes, which is just like split pieces of personality. So I just wanted to add on, if that's okay.
It's absolutely okay, Amy. Thanks for bringing that up. So Caroline Myss, she has a good book called The Anatomy of the Spirit. Do you remember that book? Yeah. And so she goes into depth in all of these different archetypes in that book. And basically she says you have like 5 primary archetypes. I don't know if I'm remembering it correctly because it's been a long time. But like we all have like the child, the prostitute.
The saboteur. What is it? The prostitute, the saboteur, the child, and there's another one, but yes.
Yeah, so I mean that it's a great resource, the cards or the book, to continue to do your archetypal work. The archetypes will reveal so much to you about your complexes and your development and shit that you did not know was even there, okay? All right. Sorry. So let's talk about Lilith, the goddess Lilith. Before we get into her myth, let's look at her symbol. Okay, so this is the symbol you likely saw on your charts. This is the symbol for Black Moon Lilith in astrology. It's the most common Lilith to use in astrology. There are 2 others. There's the asteroid Lilith. There's actually the dark moon Lilith, and then there's true Lilith. But Black Moon Lilith is the most common. And so when we look at the symbol, all of the glyphs of the planets have different knowledge that they're teaching us just from their glyphs. So she has the cross of matter, right? So anytime you see a T on an astrological symbol, that's the body. That's the flesh. It's the cross of matter. So it represents the physical world. It represents earth and our body, our flesh. And then we've got a waning moon, a waning crescent moon on top of the cross of matter. And so it's not a waxing moon. It's not the maiden, which feels much more like Eve to me, but it's the crescent moon. So this could be the waning crescent moon. So this could be like the wise woman, and even maybe more so the wild wise woman. And I'm forgetting what is that author? I'm drawing a blank on her name, but there's a couple of different authors or teachers out there that have now integrated a fourth archetype. Traditionally, it's always been the triple goddess, the maiden, the waxing moon, the mother, the full moon, and then the wise woman, the waning moon. But now there is this fourth archetype that's kind of woven in, and that is the wild woman. And so that's post-ovulation, pre-menstruation. Okay, so the wild woman archetype, it comes in post-ovulation, so post-full moon energy, pre-menstruation, pre-dark moon energy. And the waning moon is the integration of the previous phases, right? Because we're kind of ending the cycle. It's kind of like a completion that's almost about to happen. And so here we have everything that was learned as maiden and mother integrated now. So she is that. She is being that. So she has all of this knowledge and teachings and magic there within the wild woman archetype. And the other thing that happens post-ovulation, pre-menstruation, is you can have sex without protection. So think about that wildness for a second. You can receive your king's sacred fluid and not get pregnant. So everybody should be aware and be tracking their cycles with a moon app or a period app rather, so that you know when your fertile window is, because post-ovulation, pre-menstruation, you can have tons of sex and not get pregnant, and that sounds very Lilith-like. Okay. So Lilith was Adam's original partner. So I like to refer her as the original woman. So this was before Eve, okay? And God made Adam and Lilith from mud. So they were equal. And Lilith, like most women, she's very sensual, focused on her senses. She's very much embodied, right, with the cross of matter and that crescent moon there. And so she loved to have sex with her partner. Okay, but Lilith, since she was so embodied and primal and connected to Earth, she only wanted to have sex face to face. Okay, eye to eye, soul to soul, in a very scorpionic kind of way. She wanted to merge with her lover. So she refused to lie beneath him. Adam wanted Lilith to lie beneath him. He thought he was better than Lilith. He thought he had more power than Lilith, and that she should submit to him and be this feminine archetype, this projection of the feminine, of what he was creating within his own mind. Instead of letting her have free will, he wanted to control her, basically. So she refused to lie beneath him. She refused to sacrifice her self-respect and her freedom and be dominated, and she left. She chose her freedom over conformity. Okay, so imagine being with your king out in nature, being wild and primal, and then all of a sudden he wants to start dominating you, and you just can't have it. You literally cannot have it. You have to leave the relationship. You have to claim your freedom. So she left. She refused to become this kind of people pleaser type of woman that submits. And so Lilith takes off. She heads out into the wild. She heads out into the nature, and eventually she arrives at the Red Sea. And the Red Sea kind of can be symbolic as well for moon blood, you know. But the Red Sea, according to myth, was a very popular place for demons to hang out. And so in this text, we know that whatever doesn't fit in Christianity or into that religion was demonized, right? So the wild feminine, Lilith, was demonized, and these demons that hung out at the Red Sea, they didn't fit in, so they were called demons. But really, the beings that hung out at the Red Sea were just other beings. You know, they were just other beings. You know, there's a lot that doesn't fit into mainstream religion. There's a lot that's mainstream religion. Gay people, LGBTQ people, you know, non-binary souls are very demonized, and they're not allowed to fit into that box of that religion. So it's important that when we're looking at these stories and myths, that what one religion calls a demon, it may not be a demon like how we're conditioned to be. I mean, look at how the feminine was demonized, right? So just because she wanted to have sex soul to soul, she was demonized and cast out. So she goes to the Red Sea and she has many lovers. She's sleeping with these demons and they're ravishing her every night, and it's glorious. And so then she bears many children. She just keeps having children. She's so fertile. She's having the best sex ever with all of these demonic creatures. And then Adam gets really sad and he misses Lilith and he wants Lilith to come back. But it's conditional. So he only wants her to come back if she will conform, if she will submit and be the lesser being in their relationship. So God goes to the Red Sea to have a meeting with Lilith. And he tells Lilith she has to return to Adam or all of her children will be killed. Okay, just let that sink in for a second. So this is man saying, if you don't conform to me, you will lose your children. Okay. So Lilith takes her time and she meditates on it. She talks to her own soul. And she decides that she can't give in. She can't go back. She can't be controlled. She can't be dominated and forced to submit and be used and degraded sexually. So she doesn't go back, and her children are murdered. And it's really sad. You know, it's a really sad myth, but it's a myth that we can see that women were meant to live in fear, and women were supposed to be controlled and dominated. So then you fear losing your children should you choose your freedom, which is actually a very, very real thing. As a little girl, my mom actually went through that, and I've been reflecting on that a lot just preparing for tonight's class, was that my mom actually chose to leave her second husband, even though he refused to let her take my brother, and he fought her in court and he proved her an unfit mother, and she lost. It's making me cry right now. She lost custody of my brother. And so she has all kinds of guilt, shame, and rage that she is working through still to this day, because she feels like she abandoned my brother. But really, she couldn't submit. She couldn't stay in that relationship for the sake of her own child, which is a very tough situation to be in. And I'm sure a lot of women have been in similar situations. So Lilith's children were murdered. And here we have rage and shame and guilt come into play. So she represents all of those things. And what I forgot to mention when we were talking about the Lilith glyph was that Lilith is, in the way that we're working with her, she is not the asteroid or a planet. She is actually the farthest point. She's a point in the sky, the farthest point that the moon can orbit. So it's a mathematical angle. It's not an actual object. It's not a planetary object. It's a planetary angle. So it's the farthest point in the sky, named Lilith because the feminine was actually rejected. She was cast out from society. She was not welcome there as her true authentic self. She was only allowed to be in society if she conformed to man's acceptable norms. And so what we have here is that an actual myth that not only reflects the oppression and denial of the feminine, but it actually reflects the denial and abuse of our planet Earth. Okay, so what happens to the feminine is really what's happening to Earth. That's ecofeminism. So we're able to understand the feminine energy by studying our planet and how man has treated our planet. So there's been a complete disregard for the wildness of nature, a complete disregard for the wildness of nature. So man actually wants to control nature. They want to have control over Earth. Okay, they want to have, it all kind of boxed up and systemized so that it's manageable. They fear the wild. They fear the untamed, the undomesticated. And that's what we have to reclaim right now. We all have to integrate Lilith into our realities and reclaim this primal feminine energy, because Lilith, she never conformed. She never said, oh, okay, I'll go along with it. I'll wear the dress. I'll shave my fucking armpits. She never did any of it. She's 100% authentic and true and real, and she has suffered because of it. So she is so far out from mainstream society. She is so far out from being integrated because there was no room for her in this paradigm that was created by dominance and power. Any questions so far? No, you're all still with me? Okay. So Lilith, some people call her the original feminist, right? And I remember when I first started doing this feminist work, and I didn't realize what feminism was. And when somebody called me a feminist, I was actually fucking offended. I was like, I'm not a feminist. I thought feminists were people that hated men or thought they were better than men. And I guess I do kind of sound like that, but I actually love men. I love awakened men that worship the goddess, that worship the yoni. I'm all about it, but I'm not about the distorted masculine. Okay. So I believe in equal rights for all, regardless of gender, race, ethnicity, whatever. And that's what feminism is it's equality for all. And Lilith wanted to be a fucking equal, and she suffered because of it, and she lost her children because of it. So Lilith teaches us about freedom, non-conformity. So refusing to just be like, okay, I'll let you change me. I'll let you influence me. She's our independence, our fight for equality, to be seen as an equal. She's how we learn about self-respect, sexual power, honoring our sexual power, honoring our sexual desire. There's no sin or shame with sex. Unfortunately, we have all suffered lifetimes of rape and abuse. And a lot of women say that the only way to really fucking end the rape culture is for us all to reclaim our Liliths, for us all to reclaim that sexual power and not be intimidated by the false masculine, to just own it. And we are sexual beings. We that's the nature of the feminine, is to be sexual. It's been distorted and taken by man, again, just like nature. So letting go of any shame around your sexual desires, and really, if you have been traumatized, with what most women have, unfortunately, according to the Me Too movement, they say it's 1 out of every 3 women that have been sexually abused. But from my experience in all of the women's circles, it's 3 out of 3. It's 3 out of 3 women that have been in some way abused, degraded, or obligated in some way. They have suffered sexually. So we really need to reclaim that and do our sexual healing and be empowered sexually. And that happens first and foremost by being sexual with yourself, by knowing your body and knowing how you experience pleasure and orgasm is how spirit gets to experience pleasure in the flesh, right? by having orgasm, our souls get to be more integrated into our body, because otherwise our souls may just want to like astral travel and not be on earth and be in other realms. But through orgasm and through pleasure, we can integrate spirit into the flesh. Let me see where I left off here. Oh, so Lilith is your instinct. So she's your basic instinct. She's associated with the root chakra, and your like fight for survival. And that survival is actually based on your own authenticity. It's like, if you are not authentic, you are going to die yourself. And so Lilith she's pre-logical, so meaning she's a bodily instinct. She's what you feel and sense in your body before it becomes a thought. So tapping back into the body as an oracle, as the one true guru, just like Mama Gaia, is the path to Lilith. And Lilith actually, you know, she reminds me of a very Taurus type of energy. Taurus is ruled by Venus. But I feel like Lilith is the untamed Taurus. You know, Taurus and Venus integrated society, you know. Lilith, again, she never did. She was always on the outskirts, hanging out at the Red Sea, having sex with demons. And so Lilith, she's the feeling body. She just feels, and that's how she is. You know, remember, it's the senses, it's your sensuality. So it's feeling. And this is hard to explain, but it's Lilith is, and she's being, right? So again, it's pre-logical. It's just you before you have time to think about it. So it's actually being who you are. So she is the body, the flesh, the cross of matter. And then because of her struggle with the masculine, here we have shame. Okay, so we have sexual shame. We have the shame because of the loss of her children and the being exiled from community or from her partner, from the garden. And then we have rage. And I know this topic has come up a lot, and I heard Bijou say it before. There's like this righteous rage. So imagine somebody hurting your children, right? Like, that's righteous rage. That's like, fucker, I'm coming for you, okay? And that's the kind of Lilith rage that lives within all of us because the feminine has been so fucking denied. Now, this can become distorted, right? We can become like addicted to rage and anger and the fight. And this can be a motivation for activism, right? This Lilith energy can be used as an activism or an activist type archetype. But again, when you're out in the outer world, you can lose your own essence if you're too focused on the fight. Okay, so you always got to come back in to being, back into feeling, and back into being within your body to make sure that you are sustaining your own essence and not getting lost out there in the crowds. I know when we've done some of the marches in the past, the women's marches, I mean, I'm in righteous rage for a good 2 weeks straight after that march. You know, I mean, I want to fight any man that looks like a fucking patriarch. I will call you out. And I know some of the other sisters that I've marched with as well went through a lot of rage from the marches too, which is part of the process, but you just got to ground it back down and come back into body. And so the same can happen with grief, right? We can get lost in our grief. It's important to grieve, of course. We don't want to deny our grief. And in our country, that's a big deal, right? Grief is actually denied. You get 3 days off for work, and then you go back and you're expected to be normal. Whereas like within Aborigine communities in Australia, they actually get 3 years to grieve. Okay, so we want to give ourselves plenty of time to grieve when we've suffered a loss or we've been outcasted or exiled or whatever. Give yourself time to grieve, but then you got to come back out of it at some point. You got to start making moves again back into the outer world. And then again, Lilith can be where you've been outcasted or demonized in your chart. So all of these apply to where you have Lilith in your chart, okay? So if you have Lilith in the first house, somebody messaged earlier, or who has Lilith in the first? Somebody does. So, okay, so the first house is the self, it's you. And so that means that shame, that outcasting or whatever, it's actually, it's you, okay? So I have it in my fourth house of home, mother, and ancestry. So my shame has actually been, I've inherited it from my matriarchal line. So it plays out a little bit differently depending on what department, what house of your life is being affected by your Lilith. So let's look at some of these photos just for a second here on this slide. So here we have, if you can see it, I know it's small, but this is Lilith up here in the snake with a bow and arrow, and she's getting ready to shoot at him. So that to me is like her and her rage and her grief, and she's like, I'm gonna take this fucker out. And Lilith is always usually with a snake, and we could talk all day about the snake and the serpent. It's one of my favorite topics. But in this case right now, I'm gonna just reference it as like the primal feminine energy, and then also the Kundalini, right? You know, Lilith is associated with the root chakra, and Kundalini lies coiled at the base of your spine at that same area. And then again, we have the beautiful, sexual, sensual Lilith, empowered sexually, enjoying her body, just like blacking out from orgasms, you know, I mean, that's Lilith. It's like, it's so primal and sexual. It's like it's part of your survival to have sex like that, you know, to really connect sexually with self and with others. And be present, be embodied. So many of us are disembodied sexually because of the trauma and all of the profane things that we've experienced. But it's time to come back and reclaim the profound and find the sacredness of our own bodies. And then I love this here. I thought about using a naked photo of me from a photo shoot that I had with my sisters out on our glass camping trip. But I decided just to use a stranger instead. But this is very Lilith. Be naked out in nature, get dirty, get dirt on your body, climb the fucking trees, go skinny dipping, like really connect to earth, because earth is you, earth is your flesh. And let's see, what else do I have here? Just some other photos that I felt drawn to. I really liked these older looking ones of like the dark feminine energy. And like you've probably maybe heard me talk recently, when we're talking about dark and light, dark is not bad. And so we have to shift our consciousness around thinking darkness is bad. Look at racism, okay? Darkness is not bad. Darkness is equal. So if you're talking about your shadows or your inner demons or whatever, try not to do so in a way that's you're rejecting parts of self, because that carries over into the collective mind. Okay, so the shadow is the feminine. The moon has no natural light, so the feminine is darkness. Look in the yoni. It's a mysterious cave in there. Nobody really knows what's going on in there, okay? Unless you're at the gynecologist with a flashlight and they're having your exam, then she can see, but otherwise it's a mystery, okay? It's dark. Okay, any questions, anything to add here before I change the slide?
I just want to say I had a really big realization just now. So talking about, so I have Lilith in my 11th house, which is the house of like friendship. And I've been just in the past 4 or 5 years, I've been cast away from so many of my friends because I feel too deeply. And so I just had that, like, I'm going to tear up and like, oh my God, I'm realizing so many things. So it's a good realization. Good, bad, I don't know.
That's a great realization.
Yeah.
Well, no, because now you get to evolve. Now you get to develop around it. So really good. Thank you for sharing that, Faye. Does anybody else have anything to add here to this slide? No, okay. Okay, so healing your Lilith. These are my suggestions and things that I've done personally. reflect on your areas of conformity, submissive tendencies, and people pleasing. So conformity comes in all shapes and forms, okay? And all communities will have their acceptable norms. So everybody will end up conforming to fit into that specific community. It happens within spiritual communities as well. You can look at like the mainstream yoga community. Everybody, at least back in my day, everybody was wearing spiritual gangster to Trevor Hall. You know, so for a group that considers themselves non-conformists, they were all sure conforming to the same type of look and vibe, you know. And we can say the same, like, oh, with vinyasa yoga, or you can only talk about the light, love and light and positivity. You know, that's all forms of fucking conformity. It means you fit in the box or you don't fit in and you get outcasted. And that happens within spiritual communities just like it does in other communities. Aquarius, the 11th house, rules communities, but it also rules trauma. So we go through a lot in community. We go through a lot of development, because when you're in community, all of your shadows will be triggered by the other members of that community. There's a lot of mirrors, right? Everybody is reflecting a mirror back for you to develop the self. So now Faith has a lot of development she can do now, because now she realizes that her Lilith is in the 11th house of communities. And then people pleasing. So this can be, it doesn't have to just be with men, making sure that you're pleasing the man. We've been conditioned to be like that as women, that we're supposed to show up in service to the masculine. But this can be for women as well. Maybe your mother or other people in your family where you feel like you have to show up and please them in a certain way. And it's interesting when we talk about our relationship with the masculine and showing up in a way that's pleasing to them, there's this struggle here with our freedom, because as women, we've been denied our freedom energetically, but also politically. You know, our right to vote wasn't, that didn't get approved until 1920. We're coming up on our 100 years in August of us having a right to vote. So there's this complex within our psyche that we feel that any freedom that we do have has actually been allowed to us by men. It wasn't our birthright to be free, right? We were controlled, but because men allowed us the right to vote, so now we get to vote. So this can play out in your relationships, right? And I'm happily divorced times 2. So in my marriages, I know, and this doesn't go for all marriage. So if you're married happily, then blessed indeed. But anyways, I know in my marriages, if I did something or whatever, it was because my husband gave me permission. If I went to Vegas with some women on a girls trip or whatever, he allowed me to go, right? If I was going to have a shopping spree, he allowed me to have that shopping spree. So my freedom was based on his permission. Was his freedom based on my permission? Not as much. You know, I could try and then come off like a crazy woman or a nag. You see what I'm saying here? Okay. And then reflect on the areas of shame, rage, and guilt, and what triggers shame for you. You sure that you're going into the shame and evaluating it. So we don't want to bypass shame, rage, and guilt. I know that's also like a spiritual thing to just focus on the light. But again, we're healing the feminine. So you have to go into the shame and guilt and evaluate it. Is this man-made guilt? Is this something that I've actually done? Or do I know better now? And this is not my truth and I don't have to feel shame about this. And then reflect on your sexual traumas, your use, abuse, obligation, and degradation. Reclaim your power and your self-respect. Don't let yourself be used sexually anymore. Don't, if you want to lie beneath a man, that's okay. But make sure that you, again, have time to ride and be on top yourself so that you're balancing out those polarities. And then reflect on the distorted patriarchal ideals of the feminine. So let's talk about that for a second, because there's a lot of distorted patriarchal ideals of the feminine. And so we see this, that it started with Adam. He wanted Lilith to be a certain way and she refused. So then Lilith was gone. She was gone. So then Adam goes back to God, and says, I don't want to be alone. What do I do? Lilith won't come home. And then God says, well, let me create you a new woman, but I'll make her from your rib so she won't ever be whole. So you'll be able to dominate her. Okay, so Eve is an extension of Adam. Okay, see, she was never whole. Lilith was whole because she was made from mud. She was made from earth. And so Eve becomes every woman, and all of these distortions of what women are supposed to be through the patriarchal lens comes through the archetype of Eve. And so when we look at the distorted feminine, what would that be? Any ideas?
The housewife that stays home and cooks and bakes and takes care of the children.
Exactly, Clara. Good answer. So the stereotypical, 1950s wife or whatever. It's my job to make sure you're happy, to put your needs first. Any other ideas?
I was raised.
What about the beauty industry?
Sorry.
Go ahead, Faith. No, go ahead.
I was raised in a very, very Bible Belt Baptist household. My dad's a pastor, so I was groomed essentially to be that Eve. And I've been releasing a lot and growing a lot. I'm not all the way there. I'm working on it still, but at least in that situation, and I know it happens a lot in the South, like your whole identity is surrounded by being a servant to your husband and to your children. And if your husband isn't happy and there's food on the table at 5 o'clock when he gets home, you are terrible. Not you're a bad wife, or maybe you weren't the best X, Y, and Z. It's like you as a whole are a terrible person. I feel like a lot of the Eve archetype coming from Christianity, there's a lot of that kind of toxic, misconstrued views that come out of Christianity that we're slowly starting to realize, like, maybe this isn't the best way to do things.
Absolutely. Thank you, Faith. So that, what you just described, that was basically the identity for a woman. That was her whole identity, to show up in service to the masculine and to her family. And so you can imagine how hard it is for older women, perhaps, to let go of that energy, right? Because that's their idea, their whole identity, their whole life. And I reflect on that a lot, actually, with my mom and her distortions and how she feels like it has to be this certain way for women, but it's just not true. That's only so that we can be controlled and dominated. So before go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to jump in and say, I think it's also that sort of Barbie, unrealistic expectations of women, and then no women can meet that expectation. So we end up feeling bad about ourselves, even though we're all beautiful in our own way.
Exactly. So we don't have any self-worth. It's a constant struggle. Self-worth is such a struggle, literally, for like me and almost every sister I've ever sat with in circle. We're all developing our self-worth constantly. So she brought up a really good point. She brought up like Barbie and this ideal. And so before Faith spoke, I had said, what about the beauty industry? And so the beauty industry is a major distortion. And I don't mean to shame anybody who wears makeup or who does any of that stuff, but I am going to share with you some of my own journey and what I've gone through this last year. And some of my closer sisters in this call know that I stopped shaving all of my body hair. Okay. I stopped shaving all of my body hair, my legs, my yoni, my underarms, everything. You guys know I have a big fucking bush, and when we go to the river, now it's out. And I cannot tell you how much shame I have gone through by letting my body hair grow out. And it's who the goddess made me to be. But I felt called from within this last year. It was before COVID, so this is not a new COVID look, okay? Quarantine look. This was before quarantine. That I just felt called, like, why should I be shaving my legs? How can leg hair be perceived as masculine if this is how the goddess made me and I'm in female form this lifetime? I'm going to try this. I'm going to grow out all of my body hair. And I have seen some young feminists that grow out just their underarm hair, but keep everything else shaved all nice. But I just went all in and I let it grow out. And so every time I'm out in public, I have to work through shame about people seeing my body hair. It was hard for me to go grocery shopping in shorts because I felt like it's going to make me cry, because I felt like I was being judged by other people. And if a man came up and talked to me and he looked down and saw my leg hair, I could tell he immediately decided I was a lesbian, that I was gay. And so I went through all kinds of stuff, but I've healed so much. I've even had dreams about being with men and them telling me I have to shave, and me like refusing and going like head to head in my dream because I refused to shave. And here's the thing, my body hair, it makes me whole. And so if somebody's telling me that I have to share, they're going to deny me my wholeness, my authenticity, and essentially have me be fragmented. So I know that's probably a lot to swallow because we've all been shaving for so long. But for this workshop, because I felt like this was very Lilith, and I know I even said to a sister on one of our experiences recently in nature, I said, do you think Lilith would shave? Do you think Lilith would shave? Anybody? No way, she wouldn't shave. She's like, this is my bush, you know, right?
Right. Yeah.
She'd be all about it.
I want to share.
Did anybody?
Nicole, I've
Go ahead.
gone through the same thing with wearing a bra. Like, I just stopped wearing bras, and professionally, is the hardest place to do it. And I don't have large boobs, so I can work around pretty easily. And then sometimes I do put it on like by choice, and then I'm like, is that my choice or am I conforming? So like, I totally resonate with everything you're saying about it.
That's exactly the same thing. Wearing a bra, it's exactly the same. Like, that's your natural state of being, you know? Why should you have to, I don't know, oppress your breasts? You know what I'm saying? They should be free. So for this, I'm sorry that my dog is barking in the background, but for this workshop, because I felt like my body hair was just so Lilith, and it does connect me more so to the elements. You know, you feel the wind blow in your leg hair. I mean, you're like, you're in it, okay? And so I thought, you know what, I'm gonna look up the origins of women shaving and see what I find here. And here we go, the history of women shaving. And it turns out that the whole advertising industry, you know, they don't create a solution for women's needs. They create the need and then sell you the solution, okay? So advertising and marketing businesses, and especially in the early 1900s, because this is when the first women's magazine was released, in order to make women consumers. Okay, so they wanted to turn women into consumers. Remember, women got the right to vote right here at about 1920. So they were starting to have more rights, and so they wanted to kind of capitalize on that. So they wanted to turn women into consumers. So they created the need first, and then they created the solution, and they've made tons of money on it. So let's look at some of these ads. This right here is the very first razor that came out by Gillette. And I'm gonna read it on my phone because I can see it better as a photo on my phone than on the screen. But it's so manipulatory, okay? So here's the first razor ever invented by Gillette in 1915. And it says, the happy thought in gifts. A gift that is new, unique, very much up to date, a beautiful addition to my lady's toilet table, and one that solves that embarrassing personal problem. My lady Decolette Gillette is welcomed by women everywhere, now that a feature of good dressing and good grooming is to keep the underarm white and smooth. Okay, so they start by calling the body hair embarrassing. So it's important to know that shaving your legs and your body hair is not a European tradition that was passed on through the lineage from white women. Okay, I do believe that in ancient Egypt, they did do some hair removal techniques there. But as far as Europe and colonialism and the white people taking over America, it wasn't something that came from Europe that was passed down here. This was a new thing that was created in the early 1900s. And it came following the men's shaving boom. Okay, so before in the 1800s, men used to always go to the barber shop to get shaved. They never shaved themselves. And then Gillette came out with a man's razor, and then they backed it up with a female razor once these magazines started coming out for women. Okay, so it wasn't like this was passed down. This was a brand new thing in the early 1900s for women to shave their body hair. And then in 1922, the big thing, it says right there, without embarrassment and intimate talk to women. Sleeveless dresses, the thinnest of silk hose, knee-length skirts make superfluous hair and embarrassment. The razor is dangerous and awkward. It coarsens hair and makes it grow. The delicate way, the pleasant way to have smooth, unblemished skin is to apply ashes of roses, a cream in a tube, the product of Bourgeois, the famous Peruvian perfumer. It is safe, pleasant, and effective and easy to use. So again, they're saying it's embarrassing to have body hair. It's embarrassing to be you. I mean, here, it continues on. Look, unloved. Basically, if you want to have a partner, you have to shave. That's in the 30s. And then we have it continuing through the 40s. And then here, when we get to the 50s, this is when it really gets distorted. We have Playboy magazine come out, and the first Barbie doll is released in the 50s. Okay, so before that, they were just introducing the shaving thing. The clothing changed. Before, women would wear a lot of layers, and their body was more hidden. And then now we have Playboy magazine showing totally shaved women. And then we have Barbie dolls with no hair, perfect boobs, perfect figures. And then in the 1960s, this Gillette kit came out, and it's called the Scaredy Kit. I'll read this one. This will be the last one that I read, and then we'll continue on. But listen to how degrading this is. The Scaredy Kit for women who've been afraid of a close shave. When a boy starts shaving, he becomes a man. When a girl starts shaving, she becomes a nervous wreck, especially at the thought of a really close shave. And grown women are just as scared. That's why Gillette has started a whole new way of shaving for women, the Scaredy Kit. It's a little like a shaving tranquilizer. A deep pink foam conditioner softens the hair. And then it just keeps going on. And then it gets back again towards the end of the ad, talking about being scared of the razor and all of that stuff. So it's like, it's humiliating, And then here in the 1960s, it was 1962 that the first woman in the United States got breast implants. And I'm not judging anybody for getting breast implants. I'm just trying to show that ever since Adam and Eve, there has been a continual distortion of what women are supposed to be like to show up for men's pleasure. And it comes with beauty, cosmetics, advertising, changing our bodies, manipulating our bodies, having self-hate, self-esteem, self-worth issues. And then when we look at the present day here, we can see now, just in the last basically 100 years, the shaving industry has become huge. In the US, women spend $1 billion on razors yearly. In the US, women spend $1 billion on razors yearly. Can you believe that? All because they told us our body hair was embarrassing. And every woman will spend $10,000 to $23,000 on razors over the course of their lifetime. So, we don't have just razors, but now we have, pubic hair trimmers. And then you have to deal with the shame of having razor burn around your bikini line. Maybe you pay to get waxes. Maybe you get laser hair removal. It goes on and on. So this was a nice little research project for me today. And so I hope I inspire you all to maybe think about not shaving. If you're on quarantine, maybe explore your wildness. Let your Lilith bush come out, okay? And then that just sent me on a little hunt really quickly to look at plastic surgery on women versus men, because again, this is a huge distortion for women, and we can see this very much in Phoenix. Let me look at this chat box really quick. I'm going to read it out loud. Zoe says, Nikki, thank you for sharing your beauty knowledge and strong Lilith, powerful information. All, what a pleasure to experience this with you. Sorry to miss the rest. Lastly, my Lilith loves no hair. My hair is long on my head because it's neutral, easy, and convenient. I'm a big fan of bald. One of the sisters on this call has an exquisite noggin. Kisses, beam of love, and kisses from the universe. Okay, so I'm not going to convert her into not shaving, but either way, I'm planting seeds. There's a revolution happening right now, so anything is possible. Okay, so I just want to touch on this really quickly. Women's bodies are huge when it comes to Western medicine. I'll just quickly say hysterectomies are huge for women. You go to a doctor with and a problem with your uterus, their first suggestion usually is just to get a hysterectomy and stop the bleeding and the cramping and everything. So say no to hysterectomies, but this is actual cosmetic surgery. So we have, oh darn it, I switched these around. This is female over here, this is male, sorry about that. So female breast augmentation, liposuction, eyelid surgery, et cetera, et cetera. Overall, there's 1,004,109 women that have cosmetic surgery. Minimally invasive cosmetic surgeries, it's 11 million women. Overall, 12,969,000 women have cosmetic surgeries every year. This was in 2018, I'm sorry. So 2018, there was 12,969 women that had cosmetic surgery. Is that not insane? We've been convinced that we have to distort our bodies to show up for man's pleasure. So we have to really shift our consciousness around what is feminine, what is beauty, what is natural. Nature is beautiful just the way she is, And then compared to men, in 2018, cosmetic surgeries, 155,000, minimally invasive, 977,000. So we have 1 million men compared to 12,900,000 women. So that's nearly 12 times as many women have cosmetic surgery than men. To me, that's absolutely disgusting, and this industry needs to go out of business. I hope they go out of business. Anyways, okay. So the beauty industry is a huge distortion for women. Okay, so reclaiming Lilith. What do we do to reclaim Lilith? Well, we focus on our body and our natural instincts, focusing on what feeling do you get in your body, how is your body being an oracle, how is she guiding you? And again, it's pre-logical, so it's like your instincts. What do you feel the moment you meet somebody? Do you feel it in your body somewhere? Oh, can you still hear me, Amy, or no? She said the sound went out. Amy, are you there still? Can everybody else hear me? Okay, Beth says yes, okay. Amy, maybe jump out and then jump back in. When we're done with this slide, we're gonna do our meditation. Okay, so focus on your body, focus on your instincts, okay, your basic instincts. So pre-logical, before the mind gets turned on, what do you feel in your body? And you can practice this with your food choices. So Tom Jacobs, his website is tdjacobs.com. He's a great resource for understanding Lilith. He wrote a book on Lilith. I can't remember the name of the book, but if you Google Lilith on Amazon, his book comes up. So he suggests you practice with food choices to really reclaim your primal instinct. So we know that food, obviously, a lot of people, we're not even eating real food, right? It's all processed and distorted foods. So he says, when you grab an item to eat, feel it first. Have it in your hand and feel it. Feel it in your body. Does your body want to consume that food? Or is your body giving you a no? Is your gut instinct, your basic instinct, a yes or a no? So you can get a no. No, your body tells you, no, I don't want to eat it. But then the logical mind can override the body and say, but I'm going to eat it anyways. It's chips. I know it doesn't have any nutritional value, but I'm craving something salty. So you override your bodily instinct. You override the oracle that's teaching you this lifetime. So try to back out of that and just listen to the body and practice with your food choices. Form a relationship with your food. Do you see how this is very Taurian, very Taurus-like? It's based on your senses, based on what is your body telling you. And then I feel that hopefully that will revert people back into eating whole foods, natural foods. You want to be eating foods in their most natural form as possible, right? Rather than, I mean, would Lilith eat at McDonald's? No. No, she's going to eat that apple. The apple is symbolic, you know, for the mysteries, for pleasure and the feminine mysteries, sacred sexual knowledge. Anyways, connect to the elements, connect to earth. So again, be naked, wild, and primal as much as you can, maybe with your lover, maybe with yourself. Get to know your body, you know. A lot of women don't even know what their yonis look like. So do some investigation in the mirror. Look at your yoni in the mirror. Maybe self-pleasure in the mirror. Really be wild and sensual and get to know your sacredness. And of course, ride more often. Ride more often. Choose to be on top more often than not, right? We know that offers more natural clitoral stimulation anyways. We know that women are the only species that has a clit, able to experience ecstasy without having to procreate simultaneously. That's a lot of fucking magic and power. So regular self-pleasure, regular orgasms is a very powerful spiritual practice, and be fully embodied in that. So, you know, when you're with your partner, you're fully connecting to your partner. You're not off somewhere in your mind, you know, having to think about a different partner, maybe. Try to, you know, only be with partners that you really want to be with. And then also I would say that the same thing happens like with porn, that it's more of a disembodied experience. It's not really like, the porn isn't connecting you to spirit. You know, the porn is giving you a visual to get off. You know what I have discovered lately through my self-pleasuring practice is, you know, the myth of Isis and Osiris. And he has the golden phallus. I've been thinking about the golden phallus. It's next level. And to me, that's like union with God. Like I'm thinking about, like, you know, Osiris is said to actually be the sun in the sky, like the sun. And so that's like me merging with God, with the divine, with that golden phallus. Okay, break free from the stereotypes. So those stereotypical ideals of what women are supposed to be like, you know, maybe that has to do with shaving. Maybe it has to do with wearing makeup. Maybe you stop dyeing your hair, you know, and you go natural. Be as natural as you can be. That to me is where true self-confidence is found. It's not through putting on the mask, all of the makeup. I mean, we're shedding masks this lifetime, you know, we're trying to figure out the ego and the soul and all that stuff. We don't need to be putting on more layers. You know, it's just more layers that we have to remove later. And then really try to break free from consumerism. So we know that that's a trap, that they keep tricking us into needing more and more stuff, like with the razors, right? They create a problem for us and then they sell us the solution. I think that happens everywhere. I think it happens in Western medicine as well as plastic surgery, where we're convinced that we have all of these needs that we have to pay money for. And they become huge organizations, right? Huge systems of power and oppression and control that will hopefully be falling during this turning of the ages. And then choose freedom over conformity. And that sounds like, oh, that's easy, but it's not, because a lot of ways that you conform are actually unconscious. You don't even realize that you're fitting in with the crowd instead of being authentic. So what Lilith teaches us is that you actually have to risk persecution. You have to risk suffering and being the outcast to stand in your own truth. Okay, and that truth is actually more important than, I don't want to really say it, more important than your own children, but it's more important than your own creativity, your truth. Okay, you cannot sacrifice your truth for anything, to fit in, to be accepted or whatever. And you are always equal. You are equal always and always. Just always remember that when you're having issues around self-worth complexes and feeling like you're enough. You are born enough. You're born free and equal. It's just been denied to us. And now it's time to reclaim.
Nicole,
Okay.
can I add one thing to conformity?
Sure.
I had a message come through from other work from the universe, and it was conformity limits your power.
Oh, I love that. You just nailed it.
It was the universe. The universe nailed it. It just came through me. But conformity limits your power.
That's beautiful. Everybody should write that down. Conformity limits your power, because it's not really you. It's a limitation. Fitting in a box is a limitation. Looking like everybody else, looking like how somebody wants you to look or what you perceive will get you love. That's a limitation. That's not true power. If you really want true power, be you. And if somebody accepts you for being you, that's the best fucking foundation you will ever build anything on. Okay, so let's open it up real quick for a little talk or visit. If anybody has anything they want to say, any personal shares, and we'll do a little meditation.
Can I share?
Please.
Hi, everyone. So a few things. I was like, my heart's just been like pumping this whole time, and I just want to like, because that's the feeling. Like, I feel like my whole life has been like Lilith energy, just like trying to come out. Like, I remember from such a young age, like having armpit hair, and my older stepsisters who had been like conformed already, seeing it and saying, oh, come in the bathroom right now, like we have to shave it. And then like as soon as I started like growing boobs, they were like, oh, let's put a bra on her, oh, let's like draw some makeup, like, and I would just like went with it for a while until my body started rebelling. Like my hormone cycles got completely like went awry, and like shaving, like the bumps that would happen, and like just all this uncomfortability, where it came to this point where I was like, I trust my body more than what every single other person in my life is projecting at me. And now that was from, I was a baby when like all of that was happening, and like still just walking in that. And I'm right there with you, sister, with like all the hair everywhere, and like no judgment to anyone that doesn't do that. But I see it like now when I'm walking on the beach and it's 4th of July and my fucking bush is like hanging out, and every single person that I walk past is like, you know, like staring at it. Like I see them. And I see it as like a chance for them to like awaken, like to question like their norm, and like for them to like, I see them having those, like some people are so like lost in it, and they jump straight to their like judgment, and like they're the ones that have to sit with that and like reckon with that. And some people it might be like, oh, like look at her though, she's like in her power and like she's kind of hot, like I think the girl with the bush is hot, like this is different, like this is weird, you know. So I just want to say, like, listen to our bodies. And then also, this book is basically like a Lilith book. Does anyone know this book? It's called Renegade Beauty by Nadine Artemis. And it's just about connecting with Gaia and all the natural ways to like bring out true beauty instead of, it's like getting away from the routine of putting a million products on and like coming away from that consumer culture and realizing that our true beauty solution lies in our natural power and in earth. So that's my share. Thank you.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. That gave me the chills.
There's so much energy around this right now.
So thank you. Does anybody else have anything to add, say, share?
Yeah. Please go ahead. Someone else.
So Nicole, when you brought up about your mother, I thought it was funny because my mom always asks me if I'm still single, and I'm like, yeah, I don't need a man. She's like, oh, but you know, I don't want you to be old and be alone. And I'm like, I'm not alone. I'm happy with me. And then she continues on with my children. I'm not a grandmother. My children, my youngest is 26, and none of them have children. And you know, I don't know if you know Hispanic culture. If you're past a certain age and you don't have children, you're an old maid. And I'm always telling her, Mom, I don't care. My children are their own people. And if they don't want children, that's on them. Quit trying to push this culture that you have to have children. You have to have a man to be happy, to complete you. It's just, and I just feel like I've struggled with this so long, you know, with you know, especially with the Mexican culture, the Hispanic culture. And as far as, you know, like conforming to your husband, you know, you're supposed to just be that submissive wife, and your husband gets to go out and do whatever they want, and you're supposed to be at home and take whatever they're doing to you. And it's just like it's I've struggled with it for so long, and you know, like I've had issues with my weight because of just, you know, trying to conform to this image that society has of us that is so you know, contorted. It's not, it's just so it's nobody can fit that image that these people expect everybody to be a Barbie doll. Or it's just, and you know, like the hair dyeing, I'm finally, like, I was struggling with letting my grays grow out because, you know, like I have a lot of gray, but that's going to be my challenge. I'm not going to dye my hair anymore. And that's it.
I love seeing women with gray hair. I always think it's so beautiful and goddess-like. So thank you, Clara. Thank you for sharing that. So she brings up a really good point. So we don't only have, you know, religious conditioning, but we have family conditioning, we have cultural conditioning. And then, you know, whatever, like the Hispanic culture, I mean, that's very different than my family's culture. But at the same time, growing up and finding a husband was like the goal, right? I mean, that was like the goal. That's, you know, yeah, you can go to college or whatever, but ultimately you get married and have kids, and then who knows what happens after that. Does anybody else have a share, anything to add?
Yeah, I have been having a lot of, I don't know, I'm having my first long-term like partnership in a while. You know, I've obviously had long-term relationships before, but I've mostly been just dating around and meeting people. But now I'm forming this like more like substantial partnership with someone. But I'm having this issue where like I can't reach orgasm with my partner. I have no issues on my own, but that trust and that vulnerability and letting someone else completely like be serving you in some sense in that way, instead of like be trying to fulfill your role to them, letting them fulfill the role back to you. And I've been trying to find my answer, and I think Lilith is my answer to this. Like, this is like going to be my solution, and like finding the essence of that in myself. So I'm just very, very excited that I ended up here today, because I feel like I have a direction.
Yay, Beth. I'm excited for your journey and what's to come. just to expand a little bit, I went through a similar thing where I was able to orgasm with a partner, and then I went like 10 years and wasn't able to orgasm at all with a partner. And then I found the book, The Magdalene Manuscript. So in that book, it's the Magdalene Manuscript. So Mary Magdalene was like a priestess of Isis. She was like, a sex priestess. And I learned a lot from that book, but what I ultimately discovered was sacred sexuality and, looking at my partner like he is God, he is king, and I am goddess and I am queen. And in that way, I felt safe enough to let my guard down and to receive by looking at him as God and me as goddess. And you can even, pretend he's Adam and you're Lilith, in your imagination, or Jesus and Mary Magdalene, whatever you work with, whatever helps you embody the divine so that you can be vulnerable. Thank you for that share. Does anybody have anything else to add, or even any other books or suggestions?
I have one. So just more realizations. So a couple of years ago, when I first started coming into my awakening, I struggled so bad with body dysmorphia, had all kinds of body image issues, because I was taught my body was sinful. Like my parents followed the 3-finger rule, where I wasn't allowed to wear clothes 3 fingers below my collarbone, 3 fingers below my shoulder, and 3 fingers above my knee. So I had to have my body covered because it was sinful. And I remember the first time I had got my own apartment and I was living by myself, and I walked from the shower to the bedroom without like a towel on. And then I stopped and I was like, oh, I'm naked. Oh my God. And it was just that conditioning of like, my naked body is bad. Like, don't look at it. Don't touch it. Don't let anyone else look at it or touch it. It's sinful. And part of breaking down a lot of those, I'm blanking on the word, it's not conscious, it starts with the C, complexes, is I stopped shaving my armpits, because I also stopped wearing a bra for a little while, because I lost a lot of weight and my boobs got really tiny, and I was like, yes, because they're bigger, they hurt, sometimes without some sort of something to keep them contained. And so I was finally able to not wear a bra, and I went through this kind of like reclaiming period. And one of my friends that kind of cast me away because I'm too emotional. She like quit talking to me when I was going through my mental breakdown. She hated my armpit hair. Like she would ask me to put like sweaters on and to like not raise my arms. And I'm always one of these that's like stretching and doing this. And she would always just go, ew, like that's gross. And I'm like, you're gross. But just this whole conversation has been super enlightening. And then I did have a book recommendation. I've tried to read this 3 times now, and I'm gonna pick it up again because I get part of the way through it and then I hit a block and I'm like, I need to do some soul work, and then I keep reading some more. But it's called Woman Most Wild. I super love it. And then last question, I'm so energetic. Like even coming into this, I was yawning and I was super tired, and now I'm all bubbly. But my husband struggles, I feel like, with the Lilith energy. Like he when we come together, he's so in his head. And like Southern term, bless his heart, he's so concerned with pleasing me that he forgets to enjoy himself. So do you have is there like a masculine counterpart to Lilith that isn't Adam? Something to kind of help him focus on getting back into his body, enjoying that Lilith kind of archetype?
I mean, it would be Lucifer.
Okay.
Or
Lucifer
Pan.
is what'd you say, Bijou?
Oh, or Pan. I would say Pan is a great, because Pan is so sexual and earthy, and he's also a giver. I mean, he gave us like alcohol and fun, and so I would recommend Pan because Lucifer's not, for some people, it's not as comfortable. Whereas,
For sure.
yeah, Pan is a good guy.
That sounds great.
It's wonderful because I've always, ever since I was little, I've been obsessed with Peter Pan, and have kind of, it's on my to-do list to do research as to why am I so drawn to the Pan archetype. So that'll be good. Thank you for bringing that up, Bijou.
Yeah, thank you, Bijou. Okay, anybody else? We'll take one or two more comments or anything before we move on.
I have
Okay,
one.
we feel okay, go ahead.
The Sophia Code is also a channeled manuscript about owning yourself and your divinity. And Mary Magdalene has a chapter, Isis has a chapter, Hathor, Green Tara, White Buffalo Woman, Kuan Yin, and these are all our guides who have been here and done exactly what we're doing, and they're like giving us this information as like they're trying to awaken all of them within all of our single self. So this book has been life-changing for me. So just wanted to throw that one up there for everyone.
The Sophia Code. Beautiful. Thank you, Tiff.
Thank you.
The reading
Okay.
list from this circle is like this long. I'm so excited.
Okay, do we feel complete and ready to meditate? Yeah, okay. So just so I don't forget to mention it, we'll meet next month and we'll be working with the goddess Eris next month. She's the goddess of chaos and discord. So we're going into, all of the wild feminine, okay? So let's come into a comfortable seat. Get any fidgeting out of the way. If you want to dim your lights, you can. Let's see if I can dim mine. And as you are settled, allow the eyes to close down. Big sigh out the mouth, inhale. So I'm going to suggest you really make some noise. Be Lilith, big sigh out, inhale. Allow the mouth to close. Breathing in and breathing out. In and out through your nose. Breathing in and breathing out. Begin to affirm in the mind's eye, I am connecting to my highest self. I am connecting to my highest self. Hands come to the thighs. Let's take some modified cat-cows here. So a little bit of movement. Inhale, come forward. Exhale, round. Inhale, forward. Exhale, round. Waking up the hips. Waking up the root chakra. On your own, little in and out undulation. Feeling those lower level chakras, waking up, coming to life. Take some big circles. Feeling sensual and alive in the flesh, so primal. So ready to ride and ride and ride. Switching directions with your circles. Meeting in center. Sitting up nice and tall. Lengthening out the breath. We'll work a 6-3, 6-3 count breath to drop in. Exhale out all of the breath. And together, breathe in for 1, 2, 3, 4. Sip in more, 5 and 6. Hold at the top for 1, 2, 3. Gently press the air out the nose for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Hold the breath out for 1, 2, 3. Breathe in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Hold the breath in at the top. Squeeze your pelvic floor. Draw energy up. Hold. And exhale. Release. Breathe out the nose. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Hold the breath out. See if you can squeeze on your pelvic floor again. And breathe in through the nose. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Hold the breath in. Squeeze your pelvic floor, drawing up sensation, energy, and power up from earth. Hold. And exhale, release the whole, both the pelvic floor and the breath. Gently breathe out the nose. 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Hold the breath out. Again, squeeze the pelvic floor. Focus all of your energy, your prana, down there in your sacred, sacred feminine parts. Breathe in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Hold the breath in at the top. Squeeze your pelvic floor. Focus all of your energy on your yoni. And then exhale, release your roots this time. Drop your roots down, down, down into the earth as you release that hold. Allow your roots to naturally unfurl and unspiral in your imagination, down, down, down into the earth. Stay here, breathe here. Focusing on your roots and this connection to Mama Gaia. This connection to earth, your flesh, the physical world. Earth is sacred, your body is sacred, your roots are sacred, your yoni is sacred. See your roots in your imagination, down, down, down into the earth. Breathing in now through the roots, drawing up earth energy and power into your low belly, into your womb space. And exhale, send the energy back down to the mother. Breathe in earth energy and power into your belly. Exhale, give back to the mother. A couple more rounds, giving and receiving to and from the planet. And staying with me, staying present. Maintain this connection to Mama Earth and shift your awareness now to your crown chakra on top of your head. Centering here, use your powerful and gifted imaginations and see the planets spiraling above your head. See the planets, all of the cosmos, all of the heavens, all of Father Sky above you, spiraling. And as they orbit, they're sending down knowledge and higher consciousness. It's spiraling down from the heavens, down from the planets, into your crown, into your head. All of the energy from the planets is coming down, down, down from Father Sky and into your head. becoming the bridge between heaven and earth. All of the knowledge is right there within you. Staying with me, staying present. Imagine the sun is in your heart center. The sun is in your heart center. The moon is in your belly, being nourished by your roots. And your mind, all of your awareness and knowledge is coming direct from source, direct from the sky. You don't need to be influenced by people or religion or corporations outside of self. You have access right here within you. Using your powerful imagination, bring the earth energy up from your moon, up from your womb, into your heart, to the sun, and then bring the sky energy down from your mind to meet the earth energy in your heart at the sun. You are such a sacred being. Feel it and know it as your truth. Stay here, stay present. We'll cast circle. Calling in sacred direction, north, sacred element, earth. Our bones, our body, our flesh. Please be present in our healing circle tonight. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We love you, thank you. Calling in sacred direction, east, sacred element, air. Our breath, our clarity, clear, pure thinking, original thoughts. Please be present in our healing space tonight. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We love you, thank you. Calling in sacred direction, south, sacred element, fire. Raw spiritual power, passion, transformation. Please be present in our healing space tonight. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We love you, thank you. Calling in sacred direction, west, sacred element, water. Our blood, our emotional body, our inner tides. Please be present in our healing circle tonight. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We love you, thank you. Using your powerful imagination, see all of the elements spiraling around you and within you. You are an expression of the elements, and the elements are an expression of you. The earth, the air, the fire, the water. 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 Feel that power start to rise and rise within you. You can say it with me. The earth, the air, the fire, the water. 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 Feel this connection, this primal connection to earth and her elements. This is our natural state of being. To be one with the elements, to be wild and free. In the center of the circle, we call in our ancestry. All of the ancestors that paved the way for us to be here today. Please be with us in our healing circle. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We love you. Calling in our angels and our spirit guides, our spirit animals. If there's a particular spirit animal or angel, go ahead and call it in. I'm going to call in the serpent. And I'm going to call in the owl. Thank you, thank you, thank you for being in our healing circle tonight. We love you. Thank you. Calling in the goddess Lilith, the original woman, the primal feminine, non-distorted, totally authentic and true. We love you. Please be present in our healing circle tonight. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We love you. Thank you. The circle is cast. We are now in between worlds, and what happens in between worlds affects all worlds. Aho. Hands come to heart center. Three ohms. Exhale out all of the breath. And together, inhale. Release your hands to your thighs. Returning once again to that cat-cow type of undulation. Forward and back, forward and back. Focusing on the lower level chakras, focusing on your yoni, your uterus, your womb space, your ovaries. And even if you don't have those body parts anymore, there is still all of that magic in there. There is still all of that imprinting in there. Use your imagination and start to fill up this low belly with golden light as you rock forward and back. Imagine a golden light filling up your low belly, filling up your womb. You inhale the light as you come forward. You exhale and contract and expand in and out. Maybe you move faster or slower, focusing on the golden light, focusing on the lower level chakras. You can kind of limit the movement to just the hips, pumping in and out as you rock the hips quicker and quicker as you undulate forward and back. Don't be afraid of sensation. There's no shame, there's no guilt. If you feel aroused, it's okay. It doesn't make you bad. Just waking up this area. I am primal and I am free. I am authentically me. I am primal and I am free. I am authentically me. One more time. I am primal and I am free. I am authentically me. Okay, find stillness and then just kind of start to massage your upper thighs a little bit. So we're being really physical in this meditation because Lilith is physical. She wants you to know your body. So start to massage your thighs and your hips, maybe your low back a little bit. See if you can get the blood flowing a little bit more, increasing sensation. You can get the inner thighs. Maybe you palpate the low belly and you connect to your womb, to your moon. I've been doing that more and more lately, just trying to get to know my internal organs. Okay, releasing, coming back into stillness. Focusing on the golden light in your low belly. Imagine the golden light all around your yoni, all around your clit, everywhere. Filling up the womb, filling up your moon with golden light. Asking yourself, asking Lilith, dearest Lilith, what distortions do I have within my own feminine energy that I need to release today to claim my power? What distortions do I need to release around my feminine energy? Just meditate on that for 1 minute and see what Lilith tells you. See what your belly tells you. See what your body tells you. Are there areas of conformity that you can let go? Okay. And then asking yourself, asking Lilith, dearest Lilith, how can I be more primal? How can I be more free? In your imagination, what does she show you? Do you see yourself going skinny dipping, camping, being wild out in nature, eating whole foods, having more sex with self or with other people? What is Lilith? What is her guidance? How can you be more primal? Using your imagination and really see, who are you as Lilith? When you are fully embodying Lilith, what does that look like to you? Are you riding your partner? Are you growing your body hair out? When you're fully embodying the Lilith energy, the discarded, rejected feminine, when it's fully reclaimed, how do you change? And then let's expand on that. Imagining that our circle inspires a global shift of the feminine rising. How does the world change if all women embody Lilith? Let's dream that into reality. How does the world change if all women embody Lilith, the true feminine that has never conformed, not once? Does the earth heal? Are all people more connected to nature? This archetype reclaimed? Maybe there's more happiness on the planet because balance is restored. Coming back to you in that affirmation, I am primal, I am free, I am authentically me. I am primal, I am free, I am authentically me. I am primal and I am free, I am authentically me. That's the most important work we can do, is to just be you. Hands come to heart center. One more big Om. Inhale. Rub your hands together. Feel that fire. Feel the magic come to life. And place your hands over your closed eyes. Open your eyes into your hands and see in the dark. And release with new sight. Blessings, queens. I love you all. So I invite you to, maybe stick with Lilith for this entire lunar cycle. I mean, we're about a week into the month, so you can continue to work with her and continue to ask her what distortions need to be released. How are you conforming? What is unconscious within your mind that needs to go? How do you be more primal? How do you embody her? And I bet she's going to teach us all so much. Does anybody have a share, anything they want to say before we wrap up?
Nicole, will you say the mantra again, the I am primal one? Because I was not on Earth.
Yeah, sure. I am
Thank you.
primal. I am free. I am authentically me. I am primal. I am free. I am authentically me.
Thank you, sister.
Okay, you're welcome, sister. Does anybody else have a share, anything before we get off? Okay. All right, take some time, worship Lilith, worship the self, worship Mama Gaia. We'll be back next month with the goddess Eris. And remember to stay grounded during this eclipse season, okay? Aho, I love you. We are the women. We are the power. We are the change. Namaste.
Aho, namaste, sister. Thank you.
Thank you.
Namaste.
Namaste. I love you.
Love you.
Namaste, Nicole. Love you.
Love you.
Bye.
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 Next time.